I'm really very happy with that. I would also very much appreciate if we could stop. Hello, please. What's happening? Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Good Company Freeplay with me, Spacefish. And welcome back to my character still stuck up in this little research cabinet thingy that we've got going on here for like the last 20 bajillion episodes. He must have a lot of fun up here. But if you guys remember, in the last episode, a lot of things actually happened. So first things first, we actually got our whole courier bot production going, which was very nice. Got us to well, in the meantime, before we actually swapped market phases, about 25k weekly profit, which was really good, and I think a totally new profit record for me too. Then I went ahead and actually started going through the market phases, because if you are remembering, we actually had a few of these things accumulating that were like, I don't know, 350 units sold rather. So we were quite above the usual progress market phase threshold, and it actually just really became time to kind of switch market phases right there. So Pocket Computer, we really didn't need to do much of anything, because if you can see right here, we're still at 3.9 market rating with a slight bit of a discount. The cassette player, on the other hand side, being in market phase 4 already, only really has a base appeal of 1.6 and is being kept up there right now with a market rating of 3.6 thanks to the quite large 20% discount that we have going on right here. And thus, we did go ahead in the last episode and already start a new design with the Keith 600C right here. So with this new design, we are actually getting somewhere, right? We do now have a sound quality of 3.6, which is very nice, so nearly maxed out in the requirement there, and we are at a battery life of 1.8 just by switching the battery cells out for battery stacks, which does not really increase the complexity for our production, which is very nice, while at the same time not giving us any major drawbacks really, and getting the battery life just to where it needs to be. Now, data transmission on the other hand side was kind of the question mark, right? Because data transmission is the new thing that now got introduced to the whole blueprint, and we have a requirement of 1.0 now. So it's not really the huge requirement, it's not a base requirement, and we are at a market appeal of 3.6 without any prior discounts. So for a market phase or two, we would be in a good position to kind of keep it as is. So now what I'm kind of thinking about is, do we want to keep it this way, or do we want to try and cram some data transmission in there? Because cramming data transmission in there will actually be making the whole thing a lot more complex, because right now we are obviously only working with simple cases. If we would want data transmission in there, we would need to go stuff like plastic or wooden cases, which I think probably wooden cases would be the way to go, given that it's 20 slots, just to actually get the slots that we would need for an extra data transmission module, which we don't even have just yet as far as I'm aware. If you can see up here, we are at 46% research for that kind of thing. I did start that in the last episode. I'm not sure how much space it takes, but if I remember it correctly from the campaign mission, it may actually be 4 slots and kind of that kind of layout from Tetris, right? If you see what I'm doing with my mouse here, that's kind of the layout. So that would be very space consuming, and I would not be too sure I would want to have it in there just then, especially considering that these cases for the added complexity are really not giving us that much. Then again, I mean, honestly, we don't really need a simple case anymore for a plastic case. I think it's actually not even too much added complexity seeing this now, because in the earlier versions of Good Company, actually, obviously, well, for a plastic case, you need a simple case in the first place, so that was a good bit of added complexity right there. With this, it's really only just plastic parts, so maybe it's really just one basic workbench on top to get that done, and wooden case doesn't really seem to be much of any difference, because you need metal sundries as opposed to plastic parts, and the wood you just get inflowing anyways. But maybe let's just have a little bit of an experiment right here with like keeping it the way that it is, making a duplicate, and let's just edit that duplicate and see how we would be doing if we were to add a wooden case to this, because I'm not really sure what like the layout of this thing then becomes with the slots now being unlocked and if it works. And that's kind of the thing. I don't think it will work, to be honest. I don't think it will even work for like the Tetris that it is, like considering the way that the thing will be shaped. I'll show you in a second what I mean once we have got the research done. Now, other than that, we're back to 23.6k weekly profit, which is very nice. Still doing very nicely, even though I did introduce some discounts at the end of the last episode due to the market phase changes. So I'm really very, very happy with that. I would also very much appreciate if we could stop. Hello, please. What's happening? What's my camera doing? Guys? Okay, it was somewhat locked to the mouse button somewhere. Very, very weird incident right there, but okay, so that's now somewhat fixed. Now we're at 11.5k, so that's a bit more worrying for the profit right there, but I think overall we are doing pretty good. Now, I was planning to place a quick cut right here, but it does look like we're already nearly done with that thing, so that's a great thing. We are getting low in research points, so I think I just get my character to research some more out here now that we're done. Just pick up a few of these battery stacks and, you know, just get myself out here and start the analysis on that while we're doing other things elsewhere. So that thing now researched. Let's look at the kind of shape that has. So we would be working with this simple AM radio link, which is in itself also very complex, I'll have to say. Look at that, multi-layer PCBs, plastic sundries, very, very complex, and has a data transmission of 2.4, which is very, very much overkill as well. And yeah, so the form is kind of what I remembered, and I don't think we can make this fit. We can have a quick look at the plastic case, if maybe just like the form factor is a different one there, and we would be able to cram it in. But it's like, I'm not sure that would be doable either, to be honest. No, I really don't think that's doable. Okay, so I will say we have just kind of made the determination. We will discard that one, and we will go for the Keith 600C. So no two major changes, to be honest. We obviously have the monophone speakers. Just want to compare this, by the way, real quick to the Keith 500C. So before we had two beepers, now we've got one monophone speaker and one beeper. Okay, so that's kind of the change in sound quality right there. I'll just need to change one workstation, potentially some inputs, yeah. So I'll need to take care of some inputs, and the battery stacks are really just... sorry, I hope I placed a quick cut right there for you guys. Well, the battery stacks should really just be a matter of switch what we are doing right here, and then we are going to be good with that. So let me just double check that we are getting the inputs for that now. Why are you attaching that to that? That does not make much of any sense, does it? That doesn't make much of any sense. Not at all. I just had the walking sound. I thought my guy started walking, but what is up with this small shelving rack right here? Is this thing bugged out or something? Look at that. Is it maybe full with other stuff? There's stuff in there. I don't get it. Well, if I put this to... Oh, that's an interesting warning message that I never got before. Oh, very interesting. Very, very interesting, most certainly. Still, that does not work for me the way that it is right now. So let's go to manual mode then. I am not really happy with that sort of practice, because like this is going to work way faster. I'm really not sure why it prioritizes the other shelf over this one, but that is certainly not the way that stuff should be working right now. And that said, I also do not want this in there. So please get rid of that, good sir. Could we now also... God. I don't know. It does tend to make a bit of a mess sometimes, this whole auto logistics thing, so yeah. But that said, that is now fixed. Okay, so we've got these batteries. Now we need to obviously change the blueprints that we're working with. Did I not finish it? I did not finish the design, so let's finish the design. Let's actually start working with it then. So we will be doing the Keith 600C instead today. Thank you very much. And now you guys will need monophone speakers and the battery stacks. So the battery stacks I can already route into here, which, that said, I probably need to also empty that shelf off the old, whatever they were called. Off the old single cell batteries. That's what I wanted to say right there. And I am also going to lower the volume right there of the Keith 500C, and we're going to get the Keith 600C into here instead. Now I will be upping that capacity again, but not to the very max, because we will still need the monophone speaker in that shelf too. And what's the actual sellout shelf for this thing? Looks like it's this one. Yeah, okay, so getting that down then, and well, looks like we still have a few in there which will get sold eventually, but then we'll get that thing in there. We'll also need to require the sellout, I suppose, so that's something to take care of. But yeah, so that's everything taken care of except for the monophone speakers. Now before I do that, let me have a look at this. So we've got the sell order going for that. That's absolutely awesome. Keith 500C does obviously not have any more connections, so no need to be worried about that. Kind of confused about the whole... Why is the Keith 500C at 12 now? I thought I upped the wrong thing. Okay. Let's, yeah. Let's up that thing here instead, because that's the one that we want to be working with. I'm going to up it to the max, even though we do obviously not quite have the slots just yet. But we will get them eventually, and I don't get that part, to be honest. Why do the sell orders need to be tied to how many I assign in the logistics mode? I'm not quite sure. But okay, so in that case, let's just keep it at 6 for the time being until the last few are sold, and then we're going to be happy with that. Now, the monophone speaker part is honestly a bit harder of a thing than I had imagined it would be in the first place. Now, we can't upgrade to advanced electronic workbenches apparently just yet. Those will come in the next milestone, but that is still a bit to go. That said, the issue being here, right, we were working with 2 beepers before, and we had 3 electronics workbenches going for 3, well, because, like, the frequencies didn't quite align, right? Now the thing is, I can't get 1.5 workbenches going for monophones and 1.5 for beepers. So, kind of slightly worried, annoyed about that. Like, we can certainly get 2 going for each, but that's obviously not going to be quite as efficient. It's going to cost us some overhead money. That's then in the end going to end up with us having less profits running in. We are at an assembly time of 0.65 days, which is not really much longer than on the Keith 500C, so it's not really like we can just switch it over to 2 tables, so like 1 for each, so bit of an issue right there, but I think we'll just do it with 4 tables for the time being then. Even though I'm really not happy with it, I think that's the way that it will have to work for the time being, just to make sure that we can actually produce the max amount possible right there. So, monophone speakers then. We need integrated circuits and we need circuit boards. We do have circuit boards down here that we are probably already using for this. Yes. How much do I need for monophone speakers in contrast now? I will need 2. Oh boy. That's actually a bit of an issue. Because the thing is, we are using 2 right here. So we would be using 2, then 4, then 6. So you wouldn't actually have quite the capacity required without 1 chemistry table. Then again, we don't actually quite need to have 100% production speeds on these tables. So I'm sure we can let's just try it with just keeping this table for the time being, and then see if that works out, or if we will need another chemistry table. Now, the other thing that we needed, let me just double check that. Well, actually, yeah, okay. So, oh, okay. Okay. So we will need a bit of stuff. I am thinking we've got plastic parts down here already. I'm just not really sure how much of that we're using just yet. Okay, so we would be using 4. Is that the same frequency, by the way? Oh, that should be a great question. 0.6 right there. And 0.6 right there. Okay, so it is the same frequency. So out of the 10, we're using 4 already. And how much would I use for this here? Why does it sound like I'm walking? You guys hear that? That's pretty weird, isn't it? I just keep walking in the same spot or something at the moment. I don't even know. But that said, so plastic parts we would need 5 in the same kind of frequency. So that's pretty decent, I would say. I can definitely work with that, and we won't need a new table right there for that. So, alright, how are we going to do that then? So, I would have this thing, and I move it over here-ish. Yes. I will need a second electronics workbench. I will plunk down right here, and that will go and do monophone speakers as well, just as this one is going to be doing. We'll hire a person for that. And I will... Is it this thing that I'm using, or is that being used for plastic parts? Or what's that being used for? This plastic parts do... Okay, so this is like exclusively for that shell. Okay, so this thing then will move with these electronics workbenches right there. I will need to redo the ins and outs of that kind of stuff. But what I will, for the time being, need to do is I'll need another one of these electronics workbenches that I can just like plunk down up here. And put a small shelving rack right there. And what we will then do in here is going to be integrated circuits. Going to hire somebody for that. And that should be everything we need in general, except for, like, you know, we could be running low on chemistry table, you know, outputs. But if we do, we would have this space now for the chemistry table, so I'm sure it would be somewhat fine. Fingers crossed on that side of things. But with that said, so I will need to actually redo all these ins and outs and everything. So we have in here so far metal. Why do we even have metal in there? And why is there nothing mentioned in here? Are you joking? This is like so confusing to me. What is this? Why is there nothing? Oh my god. Oh my god. Please. Please stop doing this to me, game. Like, okay, let's try. And so we want to have this stuff in here. I feel there's been like logistics patches as of late or something, because I feel this stuff that was already working keeps breaking on different ends right now. It's super weird. I don't quite get it at the moment. It doesn't really seem like the connections I once made are always kind of there to stay, if that makes sense. Like I make it one day, I come back the other, and it's absolutely broken and wrecked and madness. Like I don't quite get that part at the moment. I feel that there's like probably a lot of logistics patches running in the background, and Jason Carrots is working away at optimizing logistics for us and making it a lot better. But in the progress, you know, maybe some of these old connections get broken because, you know, now the logic works differently and it has different approaches to the way that these things work. Could be the case. I would imagine that's the way that is. So with the beeper though, right? The beeper doesn't need to be in here anymore. We will be getting this thing out of here though, so that thing will definitely be running into there. And then, you know, into there. So we've now got all the ins that we need right here, but we don't have all the ins for this kind of stuff. So in this small shelving rack right here. Ah, yeah, right. Okay, so these... Why are these plastic parts in here, actually? Oh, no. No. So you are going to be pulling your plastic part. Wait, you are already pulling... Oh my god, that was a double connection right there. Can we please get rid of that kind of stuff? Thanks. Okay, so we're pulling metal. And we don't need this metal anymore, so let's get rid of that metal. We are pulling circuit boards, which we are very much needing, but are not connected to both yet. We are pulling beepers. Okay, that's just a double connection again, so beepers go. Then I actually need to look into the inventories of these two shelves, by the way, just to make sure to clean them out, because I'm pretty sure there's stuff in there that we don't need anymore. at least not in them. So definitely need to make sure to do that. Now the plastic parts we don't need in here anymore either, because the plastic parts are going to go into here. Now over here we will need the plastic parts, and we will need electronic parts, which I can see right here. But there does seem to be... oh... wait, what? Why is there Heath 500Cs on that pallet? That goat... You're joking, are you? What is this? I don't even get it. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of... I mean, I get that maybe I wanted to just have some space in there, but like that I can't imagine me making that kind of connection, to be honest. It doesn't make much any sense. That said, though, we will need to start buying some electronics, so let's do that. I'm actually going to start buying a bunch more stuff. So, raw materials... Is that raw materials even? No. What's like raw materials? Oh, wait. I'm deselecting. Okay, that makes sense. So, I'm just going to actually start buying 2 stacks of each just to make sure that we've got enough of that stuff rolling in. I'm going to get rid of that sales order. I'm going to add a new rule, though, which is going to be Keith 600C, and we're going to sell like 6 of that just to make sure that we've got some on-top capacities for this kind of stuff. And then, you know, we'll probably also make sure to get that Keith 600C into there. So that does make a lot more sense now, hopefully. Hope you guys like that. That said... we will need this integrated circuit stuff, and for that kind of thing, we will need some plastic in here. Plastic will get redistributed to both of these tables, and then we will need the electronics out in this table. Perfect, and then we will just connect these two. Those integrated circuits will flow into here, and they will flow into the monophone speaker production as well. Cool. Is that everything? No more exclamation marks, apparently, except for this one, which already worries me. What are we... Work zone requires more inventory space. Probably want to have a look at that in a second. Maybe there's some bottleneck right there that the game's alerting me to. Would be very much appreciated. But that said, this zone is now working, albeit, unfortunately, on manual mode, because that auto mode just took a dump right there, but at least it's working in good old manual mode again, so that's all... I'm pretty happy about that. All that said, there is a few things that we don't need in here anymore, like the metal parts, like I think also the plastic parts. Yeah, we don't need those anymore either. We will need the circuit boards, we will not need the beepers and monophone speakers, and plastic will be needed. And this shelf was brand new, so I don't even need to take care of that. In here, what do we have in here? Oh yeah, look at that, single cell batteries. Good old single cell battery days. These things are actually still being used today, by the way, aren't they? It's absolutely mad, isn't it? I always go crazy whenever one of these single cell batteries in some super, you know, rarely used device goes bananas and you need a new one. And it's like so incredibly hard to find these things out here in Germany. I'm always going mad at that. Let me know what you guys feel about that. Is it as hard for you as well in other countries to get that kind of stuff, or is it pretty alright? I would be interested in that. That said, let's get the monophone speaker up to 40 as well, just to make sure that we are kind of aligned on the inputs here. I am going to do the same for the battery stacks, that way we are all good and golden. And yeah, now we've just got a huge mess in my inventory to actually take care of, and other than that, I'm sort of somewhat happy, I suppose. That said though, there's even more single cell batteries in here, so I've got some research material, which is good, I suppose. I've also... Wait, did we get the orders? Did we receive the stuff yet? Only partially, so I will just be shoving a bit of this stuff into these shelves wherever I can. That said, there's not really much of any space at the moment, but maybe if I keep doing this over time, I can slowly but surely, you know, start cleaning up that inventory, because it's an absolute mess. Oh no. Why is there battery stacks in here? Yeah, good question. There's absolutely not a single connection that would justify having battery stacks in here. I think there was an old connection that totally made no sense, that just stuffed a few of these things in here that we absolutely didn't want in there. And that probably created this mess. So let's try and get rid of that. I'm just going to get the metal into an extra slot and hope that people eventually start taking it out. And, well, now we've at least certainly got a lot of stuff to research off of. which is going to be mad. But that said, let's just double check that we've actually got employees all over the place right here, which it does seem like we do. We are also getting some nice inflows of this stuff. The monophone speaker production is firing up, and we now have our first few ones, and eventually a lady or a dude or somebody should hopefully come and pick this up so we can get our Keith 600C production up and running again and avoid not making the huge, humongous, incredible profits we were making before. That said, by the way, 350k. We are pretty darn rich, aren't we? I'm pretty happy with myself right there. Only one thing that I actually just noticed is I'm gonna up the bandwidth of these things right here too, just to make sure these guys can stock up a bit. Like, should my logistics workers start being super slow like they apparently like to be right now, because they have not supplied a single flipping monophone speaker to my guys here for like the last 5 bajillion years. Could you get that going? In fact, like, that would be very much appreciated. There you got a full stack in here. Okay, there we go. And there is the production firing up. So absolutely awesome, super happy with that. I think we are very much going the right way with this kind of stuff. Also accumulating a bunch of research, so before I end the episode here, let me actually get something in the queue, because I do think that does make a lot of sense. We are somewhat starting to near the whole drone phase, so I would like to actually start focusing on that kind of stuff. Also though, we've got this whole fan cooler reinforcement acoustic ester foam kind of thing going on that probably would make sense to actually take care of as well, and because like drawbacks seem to be in much bigger effect at the moment, so I would actually like to do that first. We're going to do a fan cooler, we're going to do a simple reinforcement, we're going to do the ester foam, and then we are going to focus on like other parts again that may make sense for drones, like a brightness sensor, like, you know, better communication links, like optimizing circuits, probably not as much, but you guys know, something along those lines. But for the time being, guys, I think that this has been it for this episode. We've made a bunch of progress, I would say. We've definitely gotten the Keith 600C up to speed now, hopefully going to make a good bunch of money on that. And, well, then in the next episode, I think it is probably going to be time to look back at the market phases and actually push the calculator over to the next one as well, and, well, either get a bunch of discount going on that and just move on, or actually go and develop a new one. But that one remains up for debate and up to be seen for the time being, and that is going to happen in the next episode. So for the time being, I hope you all very much enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button down below, and if you're new around here and did enjoy this video and would like to stay around for more, definitely also make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the bell icon right next to it to stay up to date on all my future upcoming episodes. That said though, as always, I would like to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you'll have a great week, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.